shoot you in the crotch. Pick it up. No! What the heck? Oh my goodness. They're everywhere.
Ah! 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 Ah!
Oh boy, I sure am having a great time coding. Oh, look at that. That's beautiful.
Oh hey, didn't see you there. Hi, my name is Henry, and developing a video game is a very long and tedious process. Hey, kind of like video editing.
It's especially hard when you're a one-man team. Hey, also kind of like video editing.
And being a one-man development group was the case for a man by the name of Alex Mahan, or as he's better known online, Yandere. If you were around YouTube in 2014, you've most definitely at the very least heard of Yandere's game Yandere Simulator, and over time you may have noticed that the game's reputation has gone severely downhill since its initial release, with most Let's Play YouTubers no longer giving the game much attention, and tons of memes and rant videos being made about Alex. You might be wondering what caused all of this hate to a game that seems supposedly well liked by most people. Well, don't worry, your good old pal Henry is here to learn you something. So without further ado, welcome to Oddities of the Internet.
On your mark, get set. We're riding on the internet, cyberspace, set free. Hello, virtual reality.
Interactive appetite, searching for a website, a window to the world, got to get online.
Take a spin, now you're in with the techno set. You're going surfing on the internet.
Our story begins back in 2008. At this point in time, Alex went by the name of Eva Zephon on the website Gaia. Eva Zephon was a name that originated on a website that Alex himself made, which, as the website itself describes, is dedicated to making a comprehensive gallery of every similarity between the animes Neon Genesis Evangelion and Ra Zephon, as Alex believed that Ra Zephon was copying ideas from Neon Genesis Evangelion. But back to Gaia. Many of the posts Alex made on Gaia were him venting his life's problems to the internet, mainly about how he was 20 but still hadn't yet had a girlfriend, as well as problems that he had at home with his parents. One of the most infamous and brought up posts is one where he complains about his appearance, mainly his, as he describes it, creepy face. Quote, "I've been jokingly told several times that I look creepy or have a creepy face. I am 20 years old, but no girl has ever flirted with me or told me that I am attractive, so I am starting to feel that that is true. I guess my face does make me look like a creepy, weird guy, so no one wants to get to know me or be around me. I've always been conscious of certain parts of my face. Nose, overbite, large ears, and I'm wondering if other people are as unhappy with my face as I am. I can't help but being born with certain features. It's out of my hands and I can only fix it with surgery that costs thousands of dollars. But is there anything I can do to hide or improve certain features of my face? I used to have short hair, but now it is longer. I have no idea how to style it or what to do with it. It is frizzy and sticks out like an afro. So there is nothing I can do to style it. Should I grow it longer, cut it shorter, or make an attempt at going for a certain style? Is there any way to permanently straighten your hair? How about temporarily, like for a month or so? I'm sad that no girl has ever shown any interest in me, and I'm really afraid that the problem might be the very structure of my face itself, something I can't fix. I'm a nice, friendly guy, and I just want people to give me a chance." Another one of his posts take a much darker subject, which most definitely shows in its title. I fantasize about my parents. What should I do? My dad is obsessed with me getting into college. Think of a born-again Christian who is obsessed with his son getting into heaven. He keeps on telling me that if I don't study, I won't do well in school. And if I don't do well in school, I won't get into a college. And if I don't graduate college, I will fail at life and be a bum forever, as opposed to being a rich success. He sounds exactly like those Jesus freaks who say, if you don't love Jesus, you won't get into heaven and will go to hell forever. He is obsessed with the thought of college, harassing me about it all day long and even personally insulting me whenever I disagree with him. I hate him. I hate him so much. I don't love my father anymore. He's so mean to me. All he has to say to me are mean things. I feel like my father died and was replaced by a horrible monster who delights in torturing me. I hate him so much. I wish he would disappear from my life. I want to make him disappear from my life. I want to kill him. I want to kill him with my bare hands. I want to strangle him to death. I probably couldn't do that, though, so I always fantasize. I fantasize about using a knife. While he's sleeping, I sneak into his room and plunge the knife right into his throat. Stab him over and over and over again while screaming at him what a horrible father, what a horrible person he is. And right as he realizes it's me, he'll die. Then I'll have to... my mom. She's a total... Anyway, I'd like it if she died too. All she does is get mad at me for things I didn't do or have no control over, or aren't my fault. Every day, I get more and more angry and grow more and more hateful towards these two stupid, horrible people. I want both of them to die, and I feel like I am eventually going to do something absolutely horrible to them. What should I do? Yikes. He would later go on into further detail about his life and what led him to these problems in his life, as Alex states here. I'm 20 years old. When I was 12, my parents started homeschooling me. I don't have any friends and I was perfectly fine with staying home, so I spent the next 6 years staying inside of my house and playing video games. I'm so accustomed to staying home all day that I'm uncomfortable with leaving my house. I don't have any interest in doing things outside of my house. I have way more fun when I'm at home than I do anywhere else, and I enjoy playing video games more than doing anything else. I just have no interest whatsoever in anything outside of my house. Though these posts are the most popular that would later go on to taint his reputation, they are far from the only controversial posts he made on Gaia. Fast forward to 2013, in which Alex started working on a game which went by the title of Lunar Scythe. But hey, Henry, what is it about? Well, apparently, it's about... The main character is a girl in her late teens named Luna. Luna is obsessed with an idea. The idea that this world is full of people that don't deserve to live. Murderers, thieves, kidnappers, human traffickers, drug dealers, armed dealers, arsonists, scam artists, identity thieves. Luna desperately wishes she could do something to rid the planet of such people, but she feels like there is nothing that she could do that would ever make a difference. At the beginning of the game, Luna dies, and as Luna's spirit looks down at her own body, she feels nothing but apathy. She didn't want to live in a world filled with such human filth anyway. That's when Death shows up. Death looks into her soul to determine which afterlife she belongs to, and he is surprised at what he finds within her. He learns that she is free of sin, yet her strongest desire is to take millions of lives. While examining this pale girl clad entirely in black who yearns to kill, Death feels as though he's looking at his own reflection for a moment. Now that sounds like a radical game. Despite much of the game being made up of assets bought off the Unity asset store, Alex was pretty proud of his creation, and wanted an expert's praise on the game. And who better to get feedback from other than one of the people that he idolized? That being Mike Zamont, the main developer of Skullgirls. Alex somehow managed to get into contact with Mike Z and asked him for his opinion on Lunar Scythe while in a chat log with him and a few of his friends. But it didn't take very long at all for the whole entire thing to go south.
And believe me, it went south.
Mike told Alex the problems he saw within the code and attempted to convince Alex that it would be a good idea if he started fixing problems before they became much larger problems later on. But Alex wasn't looking for helpful and constructive criticisms as much as he was looking for praise for the game. This became apparent pretty fast as Alex became noticeably hostile towards Mike, making comments such as, "I think a normal person would be incredibly impressed by what I've done, but a hard-nosed programmer would scrutinize things that a layman wouldn't." To which Mike, as well as some of Alex's friends, responded, "But you shouldn't ignore me if I tell you the engine will have problems in the future because that's not subjective advice, that's objective. There's a difference between your game-ish yourself and your game needs work, here's some stuff that you can improve." To which Alex responded, "It's hard to here's some stuff you can improve when Mike phrases things in the way he does. How is it not impressive that I single-handedly created a fighting game? I made a game with intros, idles, walks, runs, jumps, dashes, air dashes, specials, health meters, super meters, throws, air throws, and I hand-animated every animation myself. Isn't that impressive? Isn't that respect-worthy? So there's a single organization problem. Can't I hear a single encouraging word? Like, all I'm hearing is, you suck at everything, I'd never hire you, I'd never work for you. Nothing has validity anymore. I started working on a game because of Mike Z, and then he personally shit on it." Mike responded saying, "Good job, you did a thing in Unity that runs and renders stuff for you, and you made an update loop and some anims. Good sir. You only want to hear that? Like, I keep saying, these are problems that you will encounter later, and you say, but I haven't encountered them yet, so what I'm doing is solid." Alex responded saying, "I have done most of the work. There are just things you asked for that happen to not be implemented. If there is no gratification for what I've done, then it's literally wasted work. If I hear nothing but, you did a poor job, then it's all for nothing. Like, why should I ever code again?" Though Alex would much later go on to state that he was admittedly in the wrong in this situation, at the time, this fiasco heavily affected the way Alex viewed Mike Z, and the way he viewed game developing altogether. He then decided to cease any further work on Lunar Scythe. And shortly after all of this, he made a post on 4chan all about how it affected his mental state. But it's important to point out how he twists a lot of what Mike said in a way that makes it look like Mike Z's suggestions and criticisms were more mean-spirited than they were originally intended to be. Claiming that Mike told him his engine was absolute garbage and that he would never hire or work for him. Or at least I think Mike didn't say any of that. Finding a McDonald's burger on Venus might be easier than finding the screenshots to this godforsaken conversation. I was inspired to become an indie dev by a very well-known programmer who almost single-handedly programmed a fighting game. He was my hero, my inspiration. I decided to try my hand at making a fighting game engine. I worked on it for 3 months, and I was really proud of it, so I decided to show it to my hero. He was really unimpressed. He asked to see my code and criticized it very harshly. He told me he would never hire me or work for me. He told me that my engine was absolute garbage. He told me that the level of coding experience he had back in 1999, he could have made a better engine than I'd made. Prior to that experience, I was feeling very confident about my coding ability, but after meeting my hero and showing him my game, I've just felt like some kind of talentless fraud. I felt like I had just wasted the last 3 months. I started wondering if I should abandon the game. Abandon my dreams of a career in the game industry. I wondered if I should never have faith in my own talent again. I lost the respect of my friends, my self-confidence, my career plans, 3 months of work, and my dream of making a fighting game all in one night. It was devastating. I became depressed. I turned my depression into a burning hatred that fuels my desire to develop indie games. And eventually, I'll outshine that asshole. But Lunar Scythe was far from the only questionable title associated with Alex. Ignoring that whole thing he did once where he listed himself as an LA Video Games Babe Examiner, and plenty of other strange or disturbing things he did or said in the past, it was uncovered that he had also made a number of fanfictions that touch on some very disturbing content. I won't read any of them out loud, since I, and I'm pretty sure all of you, don't want audio clips of me reading these out loud to be on the internet. Although I will show you guys this screenshot of it, which, looking at the title alone, should give you an idea of what pieces of literature Alex was writing here. So you can go ahead and pause the video to read this. Or you can find them yourselves, as they're still up surprisingly enough. You'd think Alex might want to try his best to erase these off the internet, but these are indeed the originals uploaded by him. I think these two random users on the website put it best with their comments that they left on the story. There are certain limits that should never be crossed in fanfiction. This is one of them. This is fucking gross. And also, Yandere dove. What the fuck? Which actually brings us to the next part of the story, which is, oh wait, hang on, I forgot to mention his YouTube channel. Yeah, he had a YouTube channel back in 2009, and most of the uploads are either Let's Plays or vlogs. Just like almost every internet account Alex has made, there's some very strange stuff, like this series of videos. Snake interrogates Paz, and Snake seduces Paz. The description for one of these videos really stands out too. Snake is 39, and Paz is 16. But Snake has enough charisma to seduce the Costa Rican schoolgirl. Cool, that's absolutely gross. As I mentioned, although Alex's encounter with Mike Z made him stop working on Lunar Scythe, he wasn't yet done with game developing. 'Cause his talk with Mike might have made him quit Lunar Scythe, but it gave him the motivation to make a game just as big, if not bigger, than Skullgirls. Only 1 year after the Mike Z fiasco, Alex made a post on 4chan's Form V talking about the mechanics for a, in his own words, Yandere simulator, in which you would play as a Yandere having to eliminate rivals in order to win the love of your senpai. And if you don't know what any of those words mean, don't worry, I didn't either before working on this video. Thank God we have Google. But back to the game. Eventually, early prototypes of the game started being worked on and eventually released, and over time, Alex stopped using the name of Eva Zephon on the internet and instead decided to go by a new name. This name being Yandere Dove. Threads on 4chan would become a place for further discussion about this Yandere simulator idea Alex had. The project remained very obscure for a while, that is until the Let's Play community had found out about the project and popularized it. The most notable being PewDiePie starting a Let's Play series on it. This quickly earned the game a large amount of attention and almost immediately turned it from an unknown project that started on 4chan into a mainstream game that nearly every single big Let's Player was dipping their toes into at the time. Alex even started a brand new YouTube channel to keep people updated about the game. But as the game grew in popularity, the original core audience of the game from 4chan became much more critical of the game due to how mainstream it now was, and they felt that Alex was becoming much less connected to his roots. Alex noticed this and attempted to regain his 4chan fans by making posts about how anti-social justice warrior he was. But the Yandere Simulator community on 4chan continued to criticize Alex, which led to him making this post. Okay, I'm going to look at the facts. Here. Go to Reddit. Everyone behaves in a civil manner. It's possible to have constructive discussion about the game. Go to Anime Expo. Everyone is nice, friendly, enthusiastic. People want to hug me, shake my hand, take selfies. Go to 4chan/8chan. Everyone is bitter, cynical, pessimistic. Everyone just shitposts and call me a Jew, a sellout,
an SJW. At this point, I've completely forgotten why I ever wanted you guys to be my audience, or why I ever took you seriously or cared about what you had to say in the first place. I developed the game that you designed, I pandered to you, I made the most anti-SJW game in existence. I took the time to communicate directly with you and ask you for feedback about the game and incorporate the feedback that you gave me, and in response, you treat me worse and worse every time I show up. You know what? That's it. I'm done. You guys aren't worth it. You guys fucking suck. This place really is the anus of the internet. You're nothing but a bunch of assholes who want to use buzzwords and jump on hate bandwagons. None of you have any worth or value as human beings. Spending my time trying to make you guys happy would be an absolute waste of my life. You're not my audience anymore. I refuse to dedicate my life to attempting to appease people who will treat me like shit no matter what I do. You could have had a developer at your beck and call, making a game custom tailored to your exact tastes, but not anymore. You bit the hand that fed you. Now I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. Fuck all of you. Go to hell. For a few more years, the game wouldn't see much negativity surrounding it. Up until, I'd say, 2017 or earlier. I don't really have a timeline for this, being completely honest. That was when the game would start seeing much more negative attention. Much of the criticisms people gave Alex were based around how long it was taking for him to implement the main rival of the game, Osana, due to him not using much of his time to work on the game, with him spending a lot of hours streaming on Twitch instead of working on this core part of the game. And when Alex did update Yandere Simulator, most of the updates were very minor to the actual development and finishing of the game, but instead were either small bug fixes or Easter eggs added to appeal to YouTubers who made Let's Play videos of Yandere Simulator. Many of these Easter eggs would include copyrighted content such as Attack on Titan and Undertale, with the creator of Undertale, Toby Fox, even telling Alex that he wasn't okay with it, something Alex would later go on to confirm on Twitter. Speaking of the actual Yandere Simulator game itself, continuing the trend of the aforementioned Lunar Scythe, most of Yandere Simulator is made up of Unity Store assets. But the Unity Store isn't the only place Alex took assets from, as much of the assets are taken from MMD and some are even downright stolen from individuals. And if you're wondering what specific assets are stolen or unoriginal, it's all of these. Did you catch that? Good. But going back to the whole entire thing of people being upset about parts of the development of Yandere Simulator, many people emailed Alex about complaints they had of the game. And although most game developers tend to see working on their game more important than responding to emails, Alex saw it as important to respond or to read every email he gets, even if they are small complaints about bugs. And this influx of emails caused Alex an immense amount of anger that he would express in his responses to these emails. But it wasn't just people who disliked parts of the game who were responded to negatively, because even fans of Yandere Simulator were given the short end of the stick. Alex would go on to mention in a video that he didn't appreciate some of the artwork that fans submitted to him via email, for it to be used as assets for the game, claiming that much of it didn't meet his standards. This apparently upset our good old anime protagonist Alex so much that he would go on to treat his fans in ways that are less than respectable. He would go on to even call most of his fans edgy. Ironic. Despite Alex's attempts to give off this impression that he's professional and can't take this artwork that doesn't live up to his very professional standards, one of the characters in his game is literally named Green Green. But it doesn't stop there. God, no, it doesn't stop there. Another character's name translates to childhood friend, another one to awesome goddess, and another one's name is just the word athlete. There's also this character of questionable design, whose name is just,
But despite all of this, Alex still claims that this is a professional game, comparing it to the likes of games that have large teams working on them such as Hitman and Persona 5. Even though Yandere Simulator has been in development for a good few years now, and uses Unity Store assets. But no, artwork doesn't reach the professional standards Alex has set. And of course, all of these controversies gave Yandere Dev and Yandere Simulator a bad name. But his name was made even less respectable when it was eventually revealed by one of Alex's ex-volunteers that he used to go by the name of Eva Zephon on the internet. And this would set in motion the next chapter of Yandere Dev's story. It didn't take very long after the reveal of Yandere Dev's past presence on the internet for people to find the aforementioned mishaps Alex has had in the past, and they quickly spread upon the small but noticeable anti-Yandere Dev community that was forming. And it didn't help that around this time, Alex made yet another controversy. Surprising, I know, as he had used the frame from to promote another update for Yandere Simulator. But this wasn't just a frame from any, it was a frame from, as people who decide to search for it describe. Okay, I'm not going to read this out loud because I really don't want to, but take the time to pause the video and read it. It's gross. But even without the context, this image is still very questionable. Anyways, people decide to bring their complaints straight to the man himself, specifically on his Discord. This was causing him to start to crack when responding to fans, giving somewhat rude responses to fans. Some people are just too f***ing annoying to keep around. I don't want to look over at the Discord chat and think, ugh, a bunch of obnoxious little children. Why the f*** would I want an environment like that? I have to ban another little kid every 5 seconds. Oh, also, you remember those videos he posted on his old YouTube channel? You know, the ones where a girl is being seduced by a 30-year-old man? Well, it seems like Alex never quite lost that part of himself, as recently, like 5 months ago from the time that I'm writing this script, Alex announced the crossover between Yandere Simulator and a game called Project QT. And you might be wondering, what's so wrong with that? How does this channel his past actions at all? Oh, it's a game. Yep, that's right. Alex thought that would be a good idea to have a crossover between his game, which, may I remind you, takes place in high school and has high schoolers as most of the characters, and an adult game. There were attempts to dodge claims of Alex not having learned anything from his past mistakes by claiming that all characters are over 18. But remember that Alex has claimed in the past that his fans are mostly teens, which means he's releasing an adult game to a fan base full of teens. I even tried to see if this was an April Fool's joke or something, but no. From everything I've been able to find, so far this looks completely legit. So things are obviously not going well over at the Discord, but things are really not going well over at the Yandere Simulator subreddit. Because Alex, seeing all of the hate over at the Discord, made a video addressing the complaints about when the game would come out, considering it's been a long while since the beginning of its development, and Alex has been making quite the large amount of money, albeit the game not being anywhere close to finished. And since Alex has no real good defense as to why the game has taken as long as it has, he basically just says, "It's done when it's done," and postpones the game. As you would expect, the sub went absolutely bat insane. Not only did the anti-Yandere Dev community have a big problem with this, but his own fans even saw that this was ridiculous. Hell, I might even say that some of his fans were more upset by this news than his critics were, as many of them donated to his Patreon and were giving Alex their own cash for the finishing of this game, providing him with roughly $4,000 a month. With that, and the lack of meaningful updates, as well as Alex's rude behavior towards fans, you could imagine how even fans were upset by this news. So yeah, the sub has a meltdown, with both Yandere Simulator fans and Yandere devs critics clashing together to make their voice heard. And things aren't going too well over at the Discord either, with multiple people being banned, which led to it temporarily being shut down due to, in Alex's own words, raids. Remember that, it comes in later. It gets so bad that a post is made on the subreddit Drama subreddit recapping the situation, as well as mentioning the posts Alex made on Gaia in the past talking about his murder fantasies and also his antisocial behavior. The post got over 1.7k upvotes, and it also spread word among people about his past incidents on the internet. This situation upset Alex so much that he created his own official subreddit that he has control over, where he can easily censor the criticisms that he gets. And for a while, Alex managed to ignore most of the negativity surrounding his name. But by this point, it was very apparent to most people that his reputation was tainted ever since his past was exposed by that volunteer. Yandere Simulator's popularity faded as well, with a large amount of people ending their Let's Play series of the game. And every day the situation kept growing as people's criticisms started being talked about on YouTube, and eventually Alex knew that he could no longer ignore everything that was happening. And he finally decided to make a response. His response took the form of a video he uploaded on YouTube by the name of Hate and Shame. The video wasn't an apology that many people were hoping he would give, but was instead him defending himself. His main focus in the vid is the hate he was getting for the things he did in the Eva Zephon era. And even though many agreed that he does make a few valid points, a lot thought that what he says did twist the situation in order to make himself look like the victim. Like, for example, he says that a lot of what he said back in those days was when he was young and edgy and much less mature. But most, if not all of these posts mentioned beforehand were made when Alex was 17. He also states that a lot make him look bad out of context, but it was argued that context isn't really needed in order to tell that making a post talking about how to win at a game is not an okay thing to do. He also compares how he's being treated to the likes of infamous individuals on the internet, such as Chris Chan. But these comparisons were quickly criticized, as the way people treated Chris Chan and the way people treated Alex differ completely. The big argument being that with Chris Chan, he was autistic, and the internet saw their chance to bully an autistic man and completely mess with him. But with Alex, much of his hate isn't actually hate as much as it is genuine constructive criticism about how he should work harder on his game instead of streaming, and how he should fix some of his messed up code. Throughout the video, he portrays his critics as hate-filled brainless gremlins, which, in my opinion, for a person who says they take criticism very well and that it's one of their strengths, saying people who dislike you are gremlins isn't at all a good or strong way to take criticism. Just a little input of my opinion. Even though this video did do pretty well and only had 23k dislikes, it had little to no effect on people's opinions on Alex, as most shared the same opinions that I just said. Over time, the Discord was reopened, but while people were digging around Yandere Dev's past, they found a video of him, and okay, honestly, I've been trying to push this part of the story off because I really don't want to cover it. But I suppose if I want to give you guys the story of Yandere Dev, I have to cover this. And I don't know what other way to show you guys this part of the video than just showing you guys the video, but I must warn you, it's disturbing.
I, Eva X, humbly submit a toast to Nicholas Alexander for successfully managing to pirate Warcraft 3 so that he may play Defense of the Ancients. Congratulations, Nick. Enjoy your Dota.
I know, guys, it's absolutely shocking that he would ever make anything like this. I'm sorry that you guys had to witness that. It's still unknown what liquid is inside of that chalice, but the boys over at HQ are doing their research to find that answer. I'll keep you guys updated. As you would expect, after this video surfaced, people memed it like hell, and some even decided to bring it to his Discord just to see what would happen, and more importantly, how long it would take for them to get banned. The mods were looking out for people who made these chalice jokes so much that it wasn't uncommon for people to get banned in a matter of seconds, which eventually led to the fad of Yandere Dev Discord ban speedruns, which is exactly what it sounds like. You go in, type some memes, and see how long it takes for you to get banned. Currently, the speedrunning record for it is 0 seconds, but the whole entire Yandere Dev speedrunning thing is a topic that deserves its own video, so be on the lookout for that. Although all of this at the time did heavily stain his reputation, at the end of the day, Yandere Simulator still had a large fan base, and Alex was still making a lot of money off of his Patreon. But the real situation that pretty much destroyed Alex's name happened very recently. In order to understand this drama, you first need to understand what Love Letter is. Love Letter, or as it was being called at the time, Love Sick, is a game developed by the individual known as Dr. Apis. The game admittedly in its early stages was very similar to Yandere Simulator, except unlike Yandere Simulator, Love Sick was being developed a lot more faster and overall looked far more polished than Yandere Simulator did, and managed to finish things that took Alex a few years to implement altogether in a matter of 14 days. Needless to say, when the game was announced and started gaining attention, the feedback was extremely positive, and most people were excited for what the future had in store for Lovesick. Except for one person, of course. Can you guess who it is? Yes, as you could imagine, what Alex managed to finish in a handful of years being finished in a few days was not too good of a look. And he wasn't too thrilled about all of this. He was so unthrilled, in fact, he decided to inform his Discord about the situation. They haven't actually done much. They have a schoolgirl walking around in a school environment. Anyone can do that with Unity in a few minutes. Aside from that, they have not actually made a game. They have made something that superficially resembles the surface-level aspects of Yandere Simulator. They used my work as a base instead of starting from scratch. The illusion that they are working faster is because they are using all of my assets. To be clear, they are using assets that were created specifically for Yandere Simulator, which they do not have permission to use. If they think otherwise, they do not understand how copyright works. They don't have to deal with the non-stop harassment and abuse, like I do, so they get to work without constant interruptions. Of course, someone will appear to be working faster if they are not constantly being mistreated and sabotaged by others. What? Copying someone else's creation / making a rip off a pre-existing game will always go faster than making something original. Implementing simple features like stab student turns into ragdoll takes only a few minutes. That type of thing is not a remarkable accomplishment. He even went as far as to say the following: "The actual drama started a while ago, but I don't feel like talking about that." If you are aware that your project is having so many destructive consequences on another person's life, how can you possibly continue? Don't you see how harmful and damaging this is for me? If the cost of Yandere Simulator was ending a person's life, I'd cancel development. Oddly enough, this wasn't the first time Alex used the subject of when responding to things like this, as he had also said this in the past. Thought experiment. Imagine that someone successfully managed to convince the entire world that you deserve to be treated like... As a result, you are harassed by dozens of people every hour of every day for several years with no end in sight. When will you decide to commit? Alex saying this was pretty much the last straw for everybody, as people started talking about how this comment was basically Alex baiting. The situation got so crazy to the point where Twitter got involved, and the hashtag #RipYandereDev started.
and for a short while, it managed to even get #1 on trending, right under the news that the US carried their first federal execution in 17 years. No, the US didn't execute Yandere dev, although it would definitely be an interesting turn in the story. Alex threatened to take legal action against Dr. Apis for the use of Yandere simulator models, which he didn't because he sorta can't, as the demo of the game hasn't even been finished, and no money has been made off of the project. And unlike Yandere Simulator, the game doesn't have a Patreon, as it was stated on the Discord for the game that money isn't needed to make a game like this. And right when all hope for Alex was lost, eventually, the unbelievable happened. The moment that has been built up for several years finally happened. The impossible happened. Osana was finished. And it was released to mixed reactions. Not only was it mixed because this took several years to finish, and by the time it was done, the excitement was kind of worn out. But many people saw this release as oddly conveniently timed, as Osana just so happened to come out around the time where Yandere Sim was at its lowest point. And there's also the fact that Alex stated before in one of his videos covering when Osana would come out that he wanted to recreate much of the game in the update where she would come out, upgrading to the newest version of Unity and making changes to the UI and overall just remaking much of it, so that it wouldn't feel like the original game with Osana tagged onto it. But despite him saying this, he never did any of it and instead just put Osana in the game. So you could see how this, combined with the convenient timing, made it seem like this was just him trying to calm down the internet. Needless to say, it didn't work out very well, but hey, at least she did come out, so that's good, I guess. Yeah, that's pretty much the entire situation summarized by this point. Oh yeah, there's also the game sleuth situation, but things have gone weird with that, and plus this video is way too long right now, so let's just move over to the conclusion already. As of August 2020, Yandere Simulator has not been finished, and ever since this drama, many big and small YouTubers have come out, each having their own things to say about Yandere Simulator, and more importantly, its developer, Alex Mahan. Many saying that he's just the worst version of Scott Cawthon. Memes have been made about him, he has been mocked endlessly, and most people believe that his game will most likely never come out. And I'm sure that there's a better lesson hidden in this story than the one that I'm about to say, but the only one that I could come up with is this. No matter how popular something you've made is, no matter how big its fandom is, no matter how many people there are who believe you could do nothing wrong, and no matter how many big YouTubers have given you the attention and money that you desire, if you're going to be streaming several hours a day and making updates that are just Easter eggs to keep those big YouTubers entertained, instead of trying to finish that creation, at the end of the day, the internet's going to shit on you for it, especially if they have good reason to. Well, as always, my name is Henry, and thank you for watching, and also please subscribe. I need the ad revenue to build a spaceship so I can fly away from Earth and just start life on another planet, just ignoring the fact that 2020 ever happened, please!